Hey, everybody, this is Jane McKee, owner of Jane's World Entertainment in Tampa, Florida. I'm live with Neil.
And we're talking to Jane McKee, and we're talking about booking in Tampa. Discussing basically the 70s, 80s, 90s, where she started and where we're at today. This is going to become part of my book about Tampa Bay music, which I'm looking forward to having another interview. And of course, I'll have to call her back for get more details. But let's go to Jane. And Jane, glad to have you here today. Tell me about how you got started in our crazy biz.
Hey, everybody, Jane McKee, Jane's World Entertainment, and I appreciate Neil connecting with me after 24 years. When I first met you, I think what really happened in 1994 was I'd been teaching school here in Hillsborough County. I was at Robinson High School for my last 12. And so Kenny opened Killian's Ybor location. And that's when I got hooked into this as a friend and somebody who was out and about with some of my girlfriends, being single at the time. Mm-hmm. He said, "Can you help with some marketing?" I'm like, okay, sure, in my spare time, but I was still teaching. So I did some marketing for him. I did some things during the summer for him, and then just started doing all sorts of things with that location. And I met so many nice people and so many people in bands like yours and Sister Sarah and Betty's Not a Vitamin and just a whole slew of great bands from Tampa, because we are a plethora of talent around here. I can't even think of all the bands. There's so many of them from that time frame of the 90s. And I remember bringing Sister Hazel to Killian's Rock Cafe. Mm-hmm. And the band from Gainesville also called the Big White Undies, and Kenny thinking that these bands aren't going to be right for us. I don't know about these bands, but obviously, at least for Hazel, the last gig I had with him was just a couple of years ago, so I'm still, that's friends cool with them and do what I can do when I can. But so that's kind of how I got started, and then because from 94. In 96, I actually got licensed because Dennis Bailey, mm-hmm. The Disco King, the Harpo stuff. Dennis came after me about a license, and I had already started the license procedure. It just wasn't completed yet. Mm-hmm. So I got the license, and there were bands that had said, why don't you manage us? And I'm like, I didn't really know how much the management side of it was going to entail. Mm-hmm. I knew that because I was still teaching, management really involves a day-to-day babysitting kind of situation, not just looking for gigs. And right. And I wasn't ready to do that. Mm-hmm. So, but I started with those, especially with BNAV and with Sister Sarah, and
it's funny, that time period. I remember playing gigs. Probably you booked it. It's up in
Palm Harbor.
Yeah, we did play at Palm Harbor. You may have gotten us that. And then there was a gig in Dunedin. That's what it was. And Sister Hazel played. And that was, I forget what it was. It was it might have been Halloween or it might have been St. Patrick's Day. I don't really remember. It's been so many years. But I remember that was the first time I met those guys. And they were really gracious, as far as letting us play. And
was that at O'Keefe's in Clearwater?
Yeah, I think O'Keefe's.
Yeah. St. Patrick's. Yeah.
Cool. You still work with them?
At this point, after 24 years, I've tried each year to eliminate certain things that I do. Right. And that's an agreement I have with my husband. We look at everything, we assess things every January and try to figure out, okay, what's the best way to go here? So I got rid of that impetus that drove me for the first 10 years, for sure, right, of working in bars. And I have had 20 years. This would be my 20th season with the Buccaneers. Right. And I don't know what's happening, but I'm also a Super Bowl vendor. Right. And I don't know what's happening other than doing my webinars and so on. I started working again with Busch Gardens, and then the pandemic hit. I've been with the Hard Rock before I moved to San Diego in 2005, 6, but I and I didn't do it when I came back, and then I picked it up again. So I've been working with the hard rock, and let's see who else. Well, there's 7 Irish 31s that Jane McKee owns, from Sarasota now to Oviedo, which just opened a week or so ago.
That's great.
And and those are solo acoustic unless there's a special event or holiday, and definitely St. Patrick's Week, we've done big street parties and that kind of thing. And I have a couple of country clubs, and they're still happening because golf is prominent. Guys can get outside and play golf. My husband said they're even at the point now where he can use a cart. Initially, they only had people walking.
Right.
And then I have the Zydeco Brew Works in Ybor. So I have enough stuff to keep me busy. But right now, my big things that I would do, like with my working partners for bigger outside things at St. Leo University, or downtown at Curtis Hickson with Seven Sounds Music. I don't have any of those events because, right now.
Nobody's going.
Yet.
Right.
And every morning I think to myself, who the hell has money, can help me. I get them a really good deal on a stage and sound and everything. And I can bring in some bands that would draw. And we could do something like a low-dough drive-in show.
Right.
Find the property. But I mean, I'm not, at my age, I'm not putting up the money. I've been there and done that. I'm not doing that. So I'd need somebody to come in with at least, $5 or $6 grand and then do something outside that would feature some of the bands around here that it literally, just like they're doing it with the Nationals, with the big artists, the drive-in scenario where people have their cars distanced a certain feet apart, and then you're allowed to have 4 chairs next to your car before the next car and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a really great idea.
Richard Gonsmart might be just the guy. It sounds like something that he would find interesting.
Who?
Richard Gonsmart, owner of the club.
Oh, yeah, I should talk to him about that. He might be interested.
That's $5 grand. I could see him being interested in doing something. I've been eating there and played there and all through.
Oh yeah.
Years. In fact, when I come down to Florida, I've been to these other restaurants, Eulalie, which I love.
Yeah, that's a great place too.
And I always have to go by the Columbia at some point because I've had some life-changing deals go down at the bar there. And it was cool, just right job, right place, right timing. And I always, it's like my mojo. I'd have to go back and, eat in the bar section, have a Cuban sandwich or something, even if, I'm just down there. I come down once or twice a year. And, I'd talk to you about doing a show based on what we're talking about, the history of music in Tampa. And I have a bunch of yeses as far as, people who'd be interested in doing it. So I'm just hoping that, once we get all these interviews done and we have the solid lineup, and of course, you'll be the one who's advising me on that. And, as far as getting money, we'll see we'll worry about it as we get closer to it, but it's always on my mind and we'll figure out a way. I'm always a big proponent of figure out how to do it, make it a win-win for everybody involved.
I mean, honestly, depending on when that timeline could be, if we're out of this scenario, then we have lots of options, everything from, the Mahaffey to the New State Theater, which is not called that anymore. Brandon Huskins is the GM there, and I had a walk through, and it's going to be beautiful.
Wow.
To Janus. I mean, these places are all there, let alone the possibility of doing something in an outdoor park type setting.
Right.
So,
well, we'll keep talking about that as the project unfolds. It is anybody watching, if you hear this is all just inside baseball stuff that we're trying to put together a show in Tampa, and we have lots of talent, but COVID has certainly have a huge impact on everything we do. And I think just my mind says we have to wait till this is over, even if it postpones it. I wanted to do it by the end of the year, but as putting a good show together and a big show takes it's all the work on the ground, getting everything, everybody, the right rate and the timing right and the dates right for people involved. And we'll work on it as, I guess what General Patton said, make haste slowly.
Right.
And,
and even I know that right here, one of my close musician friends who's like a son to me, Sean Scheller, formerly of Save the Radio, now the Contenders, he had something that was going to be done where all these local bands, and this I think was just last month, it was supposed to be in June, at Janice, and it was an MNF fundraiser. He's done those before. Multiple bands playing Zeppelin. It was a Zeppelin focus thing, which would be really cool. So, I mean, we could, the radio station's going to need, to be involved, and MNF is just great, to work with local venues, and they do a great job of helping to get people out. And
absolutely.
So that's rather than the big conglomerate iHeart or whatever,
right?
We want to keep it
like that too, because we have so many friends that, like, every time I come home, it's like I see people, and I'm so happy looking back that a lot of the people that were in this biz when I was, I'm still in the biz, but in a different position in life. My band is working on a new album. It's all original, and it's great because there's a certain point, like you said, you reach in your life where you want to do things that matter more and cost. It's not about money. Like I always tell people, spend your money traveling, and you'll broaden your horizons.
Yeah,
and you'll look back and go, I've been everywhere, man. That was really great. I had a good life. I'm at the point, I've got so much crap around my house, and I love it. A lot of art and stuff, but sometimes I just look at it, I go, God, how will I move all my books? Like I've got so many books. When I moved here from Florida, I drove up here with a carload of stuff. I had a guitar, and I had a drum set. I didn't have any northern clothes, and I drove up here the day after, I guess I left Christmas Day, like 1999, something around there. And when I got here, it was frozen tundra, and I had to give away like hundreds of great books. And now I look and I see people selling first edition books that I've had my whole life, and they're selling for $500, like Fahrenheit 451, or one of those. I want to get all that kind of stuff, and it's like I buy books for my pleasure, and like I've been buying some from Warren Zevon's collection since I've been kind of affiliated with the whole Z-Con movement, and those series of shows that we've done are finally getting good. This year we had to do it virtually, but his former wife sells these books to benefit Native Americans. And I will say this about Crystal: she puts her money where her mouth is. She spends it. She's not buying a big caddy or living large. It's not like Warren made that much money in his career, compared to Don Henley or somebody. He had a lot of friends who did real well, and but his thing was books and playing and writing music. And so I got the chance. They put these bids up on eBay. And she's real cool about it because they can get real high prices occasionally. She'll put specials on, like a raffle, where she'll give away some of the books to people. I won one of them, and that got me started. It was a book about writing poetry called the Book of Verse. And, we all forget, how many years since high school have I read a book about poetry? I'm talking a long time ago in Massachusetts, boarding school. And, some of that kind of hangs on, the things you learn and read. And, I don't know where I'm going to go with this other than packing now my stereo, my books, all the furniture, all the artwork. If I ever spring back to Florida, it'll be like, hell, it's time to do a great thinning of the herd,
I know. We think of as older my husband and I are, we think about things like behind me.
Right. Well, yeah.
That's an original John Lennon back there.
Oh, that's great.
And this is another one right here of his lyrics. All these are signed. And then
nice.
And then where's the Doors? Okay.
Ryan.
There's the Doors. That picture is at the Venice Pier in 1969.
All right, great.
And the Stones in 1965. So we have like a lot of stuff in our house that's that kind of memorabilia, but we're keeping a pretty good eye on the value of these things.
I've had a guy who's been calling me repeatedly. He tells me that he's going to send armed government agents to my home because of my Social Security problems. Anyway, he's one of those scammer guys. There's so many scams now, I just can't keep up with it.
I know, it's horrible. I think the last one I got was, now I've been seeing a lot of things coming in on Gmail that are weird looking Gmail things and saying that it's for gift certificates for, places like Home Depot and different places that I shop. But it's like, I look at them and I look at those addresses and I think this just is, I just put it under spam because I'm not opening anything that looks funny. And if it's to stores I don't even or haven't been to in forever and ever, it's just like it's not smart to open it, even an email anymore, because those people are out there doing it.
They're doing it on Facebook too. I've had a couple of weird encounters.
I haven't had that yet.
How much change is going to last as far as bands doing video on television? I'd like your thoughts on. We have all these broadcasts going on, and
lots of live streaming. I think with the live streaming, what I've witnessed and what I've been able to be part of, I'm not smart enough to really, and that technically be able to explain this stuff to you. But I know that, like with my Irish 31s, when we got started, the gal that does marketing says we can cross post so that it's not just going to be that person there with his phone in front of him doing, FaceTiming himself or streaming, whatever it is that they set up, at the gig, especially, with people being distanced from them. So one of my musicians, Ryan Marchand, is extremely talented, and not just as a musician and a writer and so on, but technically speaking. And he had a better setup. He said, look, I can do this with the musicians and give them a better quality, because he was noticing what you said, that lots of times the quality is less than what you want people to hear. And then they're going to think, he's okay, but he's not that good, because of the quality of the recording coming from a phone. So Ryan was doing that and then cross-posting. This was for the Irish 31s, and that worked out really, really well. There's a gal in St. Pete, Katie Talbert, who's a musician, and she has a studio. She's got a degree in music and knows a lot of the technical aspects of things. And she has had people coming to her home where she has her studio, and they've been recording and live streaming these top-notch, types of presentations, as opposed to just the guys at a bar sitting on a stool with his phone there, recording it on a mic stand or something. So I think that the live streaming, it's certainly not going to go away. But in terms of it being the moneymaker, I just don't know, unless somebody really can increase the numbers of people who get to see them, which is the idea of cross-posting with the Facebook pages for Irish 31s, because then you go from hundreds to thousands of people who are on those pages. I don't know, like, let's just say a typical ordinary solo acoustic musician player in a restaurant, if he's got 400 or 500 people on his page, how many people can continuously, if the person is doing this weekly, continuously contribute? And for me, I had to make a big decision for myself, being at the time in the beginning when this was all going on and not having money coming in. I decided, well, I can't pick one person over another person. How am I going to decide? But for me, I've got 30 or 40 solo people, let alone bands. How am I going to consider who I'm going to give money to? I can't do it.
Right.
So I decided to invest my money in other things that are more political, like the Color of Change, but feeding Tampa Bay and different things, Metropolitan Ministries. And so I'm on a regular schedule of stuff that comes out of my bank account monthly to help those people who help larger numbers of people, because there's no way I could pinpoint. Now, I have a longtime friend from back in our day, and I'm not going to bring up his name, but you would know him immediately because he was from one of the biggest hair bands in the area, extremely well known. And anyway, he was in the hospital recently, and so I did send money to him directly, because he was totally without work and has no health insurance.
I've been there and done that. That was not fun.
So, it's just, the live streaming, I think can definitely be a boost, just like YouTube. YouTube has changed. YouTube changed the whole music situation. Yeah. It's not like you have to have a music promoter that goes to a radio station and pays them how much under the table to play your song. It's just a different ballgame, and anything you can do online to wake people up to who you are. Right. If you have a good video, I know people in this business who do a really good job with the up-and-comers, young artists, and getting them really large exposure on the internet. I don't know how to do any of that. I'm just lucky I can do what I do. But I think live streaming is here to stay, but not necessarily. Hopefully, it's not going to be, because that's the only way somebody can make money.
Right.
We have to get back into venues, and like what I just mentioned to you about that, Amy Klobuchar and her committee and some of the people around the country who were involved, or had input, I hope, for this $10 billion that's supposed to be subsidizing venues.
Right.
I think it said, if I remember right in the article, and I posted it on my Jane McKee page, up to $12 million per venue. Now, I don't know who's choosing the venues, but or what size they all are, but it could be like the Crowbar in Ybor, it could be the Gill Dog in Newport Richey, it could be the Mahaffey,
right,
or Ruth Eckerd. I don't know, but I know that it's something. It's a start, because obviously, right off the bat, the music industry suffered as soon as the restaurants and venues were closed. It was boom.
Bartenders, right.
Yeah. So, people have to eat, people have to pay their bills. I don't know what's going on for sure with this new stimulus bill. Mm-hmm. I know that for a lot of musicians, even a couple of them that I know have been working for the DEO, okay, the Employment Opportunity Office here in Florida, as their part-time thing, because they're not playing.
Right.
And even they are confused about a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of musicians groups on Facebook where they're, how do you do this and how do you do that, and how come you got paid and I didn't get paid? And it's been so erratic down here, honestly. I mean, I don't know what it's like in the Northeast where you are, but I know that there's been a lot of frustrations and people have waited months. Mm-hmm. So if they think that musicians are sitting at home going, woo, $600 a week, we're really happy, we don't need to go to work again. That's certainly not the case. When you're an artist, if you're not performing, you're on the edge of cycle,
Tell me this, how about original music? Is there anybody on the Tampa scene that you really dig?
I mean, there's always some people I've always liked, and I've always felt like they have in times been on a precipice and then never quite got over whatever that hump was to go further. And, unlike some people who have done better in the Orlando area, mm-hmm. Or certain kinds of music that comes out of Miami, right. Florida, the west coast of Florida has not had any major standouts. I wish I could remember the name of this young gal that Pat Clark, owner of ESI Audio, is working with. I can't remember her name. I watched her videos, and I said to him, I said, this girl, and she's a very unassuming, like 17, 18-year-old kid, right, who doesn't know anything about the music industry, but Pat has a lot of connections, and he's got one of the big labels are looking at her. She's extremely talented in the sense of a Dua Lipa, Halsey, that pop genre. Yeah, she's really good. A songwriter first and foremost, like Billie Eilish.
I gotcha.
And there's a lot of different kinds of music that comes out of Tampa. That's the thing, is we're not a blues city. We're not a hard rock city. In the old days when you were around and stuff, I mean, we were considered, especially Brandon, considered heavy metal.
Right.
And like Iced Earth and some of these bands that really made it big in Europe, right, that were big enough here, but once they got to Europe, that's what everybody was listening to. We've had some great musicians in this area. Jeremy Thomas, who's been around for a long time and is a great writer and still performing, and and mesmerizes people because he's so personable. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of great country music now, because in my last 6 years, it's like that's been the most prominent thing I've done when I've done a bigger outside event is country music. So, and that brings in bands like Southbound 75 and Soul Circus Cowboys with Billy McKnight and so many others, that are constantly writing and working hard at what they do. Angie Ray is a young girl from this area. Mm-hmm. She is being backed by the former members of Soul Circus Cowboys, and she's phenomenally talented. She's young; she's just 21 or 20, and a great writer. Mm-hmm. But limited in scope now, because where are you going to go to get thousands of people to see you?
Right.
Online. And so, that's something that ESI Audio had been doing in their studio at the warehouse.
Gotcha.
It's doing, the Black Honkies did one.
I loved their new video. Really, really great.
Oh yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah, they and I know that Phil have you spoken to him yet?
I rang him and left a message. I haven't talked to him.
Yeah, you have to persist in text. Answering the phone won't happen, but they had a whole southeastern type tour up into the Carolinas planned.
Right.
And then all of it had to go for naught, because of what was happening. So they're a hardworking, fun-loving.
I'd love to get them up here in Asbury. Put them at the Stone. It would be a great venue for them. They'd kick ass. And I've known Goombie for forever because.
They don't get better than him.
No, he's the man, the myth, the legend. Goombie, if you're listening.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I need to genuflect to you. The Goombie is the funniest bastard alive too. Hell of a fun guy, and we used to bring him into Jeff Arthur's, and we'd be doing jingles, and we'd bring Goombie in, and we'd be like, "Hey, we got 2 songs we're doing," and he comes in, he gets set up, and we go through both songs like twice, and then my boss Jeff was like, I go back in and tell him, Goombie's done, man. He looks at me, he's like, what? You got it in here and he's already done? He goes, hey, I got 3 more tunes. And me and the other engineer were like, I'm sorry, Jeff. You paid him for 2 songs. If you're going to have him stay, it ain't the usual.
You have to pay longer. Yep.
This is our friend. Make sure you pay him for the extra. He's going to be here another 2 hours. You pay him what we just, he'll get it done in a half hour. Consider yourself lucky to even have him. So, I noticed you the other day when we were talking, you mentioned Tom Gribben. All Cowboys. You still friends with him?
Oh yeah. I used
to go see him back in Madeira Beach, way years ago down that way.
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island, yes. And he was always just killer. Just always had a great band, and they were one of the bands that would have been nice to see them really blow up because they were great. He's great.
Yeah. Yeah, they play once in a while. It's special things. I think they played right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was over. I don't know what it wasn't. Ricky T's, but it was one of the small places over in the beach, like probably Madeira Beach somewhere. I do the music with him at the club where on Treasure Island, the yacht club.
Yeah.
And then sometimes with stuff that he needs me to do pre-concerts for at the Mahaffey. But like you told me the other day, he said, we are just like nothing. We've got nothing.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, can't we just go to the baseball field and do something outside on the baseball field?
Right.
But now you can't even, you can't drive your cars on the field. It was where the Rowdies were playing. So you can't rough up the field. And he was one of the people that I thought about as a possibility. I said, let's just do an outside concert, Bill Edwards and Big Three.
How about doing the band show in St. Pete? That would be a good.
The little Williams Park.
I say it just because I played there, and I
had Sister Hazel there, and I had other nationals there when I was with Backline Music Group, and that's a cool little place.
Yeah.
It would have to be. If you were going to ticket anything, you'd have to fence the whole thing, or if it was just going to be free,
ticket it.
And you only ticketed exponential numbers of people in space. There's a lot to figure out with Williams Park.
Right. Well, it's just a thought. I miss a lot of those. I miss Janice, I love the Cuban Club. I've had some great times in all those places.
Yeah, I had the last show at Janice when they shut down.
No.
And it was with this young gal, Angie Ray, and Southbound 75, and it was right at the kickoff on the Friday night of the GTE Grand Prix. But they canceled anybody attending the Grand Prix. So that just like, and everybody was just like, didn't know what to think about what was going on. And we weren't wearing masks then or anything, but we were just all, it was up in the air. And I mean, we only had a couple hundred people there. It was, I brought the price way down and stuff anyway, but it gave them a chance to get some good footage. But that was the last time that they had a full show at Janus. And I don't know when they'll start up again. I periodically touch base with Rob. I know they've done I think they've done some sessions from Janus with, and I don't know if they're still doing it, but like solo duo type stuff on stage, and they've filmed it and it's just a live stream thing.
Right.
But they have, do you know where the landing is? It's upstairs there now? Mm-hmm. Okay. I think their music is back, and that's usually solos or duos up there. I didn't think they had food, so I didn't know that they could do that. I don't know if they still are, but they were.
So I noticed when you guys went up to Woodstock, probably a year ago or so. I was
last August, yeah.
And I love all of that area. Have friends who own a studio up in Woodstock, and a lot of musicians are up there. Is that where you came from?
No, I'm from south of Buffalo.
Okay.
Richard Park, Hamburg area.
Do you know where Angola is?
Oh yeah, of course.
Where my girlfriend, my long-suffering girlfriend.
the one who's putting up with you? Yes,
she has a hell of a job, I got to tell you. But yeah, she grew up there, and when she was growing up, she was a tennis pro, so she's here because everybody in Angola moves somewhere eventually.
Yeah, Angola, we used to go, on the lake when we were at college, especially my freshman year, my sophomore year, we would go out to Mulligan's on the beach out there, and it was a big party scene.
She tells me.
In 1962 and 3.
It's fun how our friends and where we moved from.
Small world.
Yeah, I want to do a Venn diagram from the book of all the bands in Florida and the interconnections that are made, because I've been trying to visualize it. And like right now, if I just used the 160 people who are interested in being in the book and submitting some video, it's a lot of work. And,
Ooh, yeah, I don't know how it's beyond me. I can't wait till it comes out eventually.
I was talking to George Harris about it. I said, half of the reason we all remained friends, even though we played in different bands and competed against each other, is like a certain level of respect for anybody who could tough it out long enough. And
isn't that? I love George. George is the bomb.
He is absolutely. He's another one. George, we love you, and is always. And what he said it was true. It's all about the hang. At the gig when you're recording, it's all about the hang.
The hang.
As you know, you've seen it all too, because you've been there in the underbelly of the Tampa music scene.
Mentioning the Cuban Club, that's a good place to possibly have something once.
I like the idea of that, because you could have the 3 floors in the band show. You could really do something up nice.
Yeah, you'd have to do it outside for sure.
Yeah. Do they have?
And then can do the basement can be like a green room, and there's different ways to use that facility that I've been involved in before.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So that's a good spot. Well, it used to always be, in the different floors and outside and all that stuff at the Cuban Club, and then for a couple of years they used other venues in Ybor too, but then those venues started disappearing. So I just honestly, I'd have to Google it and remind myself. Just
I'll take a look.
Lately, Neil, if I'm not thinking about something,
mm-hmm.
It's like, don't ask me, because I'm probably not going to remember. And I think to myself, why is my brain so cluttered with so many things that, like, when I lay down at night, I can't go to sleep. And yet I wish I had more productive things to do, while I'm waiting for all of this to take a turn for the better or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get I mean, I can stop, like when I was bolstering up my little tablet here so you could see me at a higher level. I was looking at stuff that I was finding that fell out of a.
All right. Oh, look at you. I remember you.
But do you know who that is? It's the Smithereens.
Oh, it's the Smithereens Jersey guy, man.
And this one fell out too. Toto.
Oh, fucking A. Right. Great band.
And it just fell out of this because I don't do pictures anymore. These two fell out.
Do you get electronic press kits? Do you get a lot of those run across your desk?
That's the only thing. I don't accept anything else. I said, there's no way, because, it's just too much crap to have in the office. Is electronic press kits are the way to go. And when a band is getting started, if they, I get a lot of people from all over the country that send me things. Mm-hmm. And because of the fact that I like, when I'm working at the Hard Rock, the cafe, mm-hmm. I do a lot of tribute bands there, and most of them tour.
Right.
And I mean, from as far as LA or coming out of the Northeast, and then we've got some great ones in the state and some great ones in this area too. Right. But I get a lot of stuff from original artists and people out of Nashville, and I'm constantly, saying, no, don't send me a thing. And it's only the older people now that would even suggest it. Where can I mail it? And I'm like, mail it? Are you kidding me? If you don't have an EPK, you better get one.
Right.
And if you don't have this and this and this, I just tell a lot of the younger folks who, they'll send me an email because they Googled and found me.
Right.
And they'll send me an email and they'll go, what do you do? And I'm like, okay, I'm not talking to that person because I don't have time to explain what I do. Why are you contacting me if you don't know what I do? If you got a website, look through it, see what I do. Right. You're too ignorant and I don't want to be bothered. And then it was a couple of years ago, I said, if you're under 21, I'm not interested. Right. And unless like this young girl that is being groomed through ESI Audio, that's really phenomenal. If somebody within the industry brings something to me that's a younger artist, and there's anything I can do, mm-hmm. Because younger ones, if they're basically, I like them to be at least 18, right. Can perform in a restaurant legally, and then they just say they can't be there if any kind of alcohol is sold after their sets are done. But so I steer clear of some of that. But I mean, I'll get sometimes when I'm in a better mood and I'm not cranky, I'll definitely get into explaining to somebody, look, here's what you need to do. And I've gotten a lot of things from crossover artists and EDM and rap people and stuff. And I tell them, look, this is not my forte. Right. I said, I get work for people, but I can tell you that no matter what your genre is, these are the things that you need to do when you approach anybody, especially somebody you don't know, right. who's going to judge you immediately on that first impression of like, oh, what do you do? Right. It sounds so stupid, so educate yourself, while you're planning to become, this next big thing. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, everybody always wants to do band things until it's time to do band things.
Yeah, yeah.
And the people who watch us perform and come, they have no idea about the ladder of success and
it takes to get there.
Ups and downs. And I don't care. I never really got into music because we were getting paid a hell of a lot of money. I got into it because I loved doing it. And, big survival coping mechanism for me all through life, playing in a band is cathartic, and it's that feeling of family. It's hard to replicate. If you have a bad family, it's like being in a bad band. If you have somebody in the band with substance abuse issues, or they have a bad wife, there's a million things, because when you have 5 guys, 6 guys, they have 5 or 6 different women involved, and that can become a whole horror show. You can't some chick flashed her boob at my bass player husband, and then they have a shit conniption that they can't do the gig anymore. A conversation. I'm like, yes, we have the cat who's
Aww.
Yeah, isn't he great?
Oh, he's adorable. I don't know where mine is. The prince.
Big on cats here. We just got this guy to take care of our other 2-year-old cat. I don't want to digress any longer. Thank you very much. Love you, babe.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.